And with that, I want to bring in my colleague, Bryan Entin. Bryan, you talked to Alivea, and I'm sure you guys went into depth about that TikTok post. I'm still slightly unclear about what experimental means and how she learned or heard that term.
Yeah, so it seems this is something, Ashleigh, that she was told when she had this meeting with the prosecutor, with Bill Thompson, and also with law enforcement. And she went by herself, by the way. It's something she wanted to do by herself. So, she lives in California. She flew to Idaho, and she went by herself to sit at a table with all of them and get her questions answered. A lot of them still don't have answers just because, we don't know the motive. There's a lot that the prosecutor just doesn't know. But she did get a full list of wounds. And I think the presumption initially was that that a lot of these wounds came because Kaylee was fighting back against Bryan Kohberger. And it seems now that may not be the case. Some of the wounds, and it's sort of just like disgusting to talk about, but when she says experimental, some of these wounds may have been Bryan Kohberger just stabbing in places and just almost like experimenting in a way, and some even after Kaylee was already dead.
So basically just sadism, just a sick person doing even sicker things after he had done the sickest thing. And that was just, but I'm curious about the amount of time that he had in the house. It's like, I think it's hard to know exactly when he opened the door. All we know are the accounts of when they heard things in the house and when he was driving out of the neighborhood. But it's, it's roughly about 20 minutes. Was there even enough time for him to, and I hate to use the word, but it would be his sadistic description, play with his victims and do those things after he killed them?
Yeah, it seems there would be. I mean, we, like you said, we don't know the exact time frame, but we know that he was in the house between roughly 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Granted, we don't know how long it took for him to get in and out and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it seems there would be enough time for him to do that, and it's pretty disturbing to think about.
So in the face-to-face meeting that Alivea had with the prosecutor, man, this is a long time coming, right? There's just been so much they've wanted to know, and they've been left in the dark with the rest of us, and it just feels so unfair to victims. I understand why, but did she come away with the meeting, from the meeting with the prosecutors with a better understanding of their process or who they are or what they were doing? Because there was a lot of acrimony there for a long time.
Yes, she did. And I think they almost sort of came to terms with each other. At least for her, I think she left with more respect for the prosecutor. Of course, she still doesn't agree with the plea deal, and her family has been very outspoken about being upset with a lot of things along the way when it comes to how the state handled the case. But I think I know she left with more respect for them, sort of a mutual understanding. And it's interesting, Ashleigh, she said that when she went to this meeting, she was sort of didn't know whether or not she wanted to see some of these autopsy photos for herself. And she said, can you ensure to me that none of these photos will leak? And they basically said no, and that they think there is a leaker, which is what she told me. And so her feeling was, well, if there's any possibility that the photos could leak, I want to see at least some of them for myself so that I'm not shocked. And so she did that.
Wow, I can't even imagine what that would be like and how she'll recover from that, because you can never unsee those things. And God forbid they do leak. We made a conscious decision on this show to be extraordinarily sensitive about these very painful photographs. There's no journalistic, reason for showing them. He is guilty and gone. This doesn't resolve anything. It doesn't answer any more questions. One thing I was just shocked, though, to see Bryan Kohberger's attorneys were filing some battle about the restitution. They're mad that he's got to pay somewhere between $250,000 and probably $260,000 or $70,000 in restitution. This is one of the orders. What the hell is that about?
Yeah, I don't know about you, Ashley, but this just sort of got under my skin a little bit. Like, I felt like this, he admitted to the crimes, he's in prison. I felt like this was almost just like a dagger into the victims, like one final time, because basically they filed this detailed motion, named the families, in the motion, and we're basically saying, look, there's been GoFundMes, and we don't believe that Bryan Kohberger should be responsible for paying some of these costs that have come up that were not explicitly named in the plea deal. Granted, he doesn't really have any money, so I think this is sort of a moot point. And that's the reason that I found it to be so upsetting. Like, why even file this after everything's done? Put the names in there, call out specific families. Why do that now? I just felt like I don't know. It just felt kind of mean to me.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.